If you're new here, welcome. My name is Diane. My company is Stretching by the Bay. I have been doing hands on therapeutic stretching for decades, since before most people kind of knew about it. Um, and I have worked closely with Aaron Mattis uh, also for decades. And I have programs. I have a hybrid program called Bounce Back from Back Pain. So if you would like my help, if you would like me to be your coach, if you would like to work with me and enjoy the content I've made specifically for that program, as well as interactive sessions with me, please let me know. You can visit my website, also Stretching by the Bay, but stretchingbythebay.com. There's a portal for Bounce Back from Back Pain. And there's also a link in YouTube in case you're catching up with this on YouTube um, later instead of during the live. And for those of you on the Zoom link, chances are you got that from my newsletter. And so we're already connected. And I'm sorry, it's been a minute since I've sent out a newsletter. Technical difficulties. Really good with bodies, really good with biomechanics, really good with tissues and bones and muscles and fascia and that kind of thing. Not so good with computer technology, software, and technological organization, that sort of thing. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and get going. Let me see the questions in the Zoom, and I have a couple of pre-sent questions by people who are at work today because it is noon on Wednesdays, and not everybody is available to spend their lunch with me. So I don't see any fresh questions in the Zoom. But regarding the pre-post questions by some followers, for one thing, I want to encourage you to enjoy and learn from the free content that I have on my YouTube channel. A lot of it is about taking care of your back. It's all about self-care, and a few fun things thrown in just for levity. But I really am all about encouraging people to take care of themselves and empowering people to understand how to do that. Like, how does posture help make your life better? How does posture help you avoid injury and come back from a pain scenario? What is posture for seated? What is posture for standing? What is posture for sleeping? How do you get up and down off the floor or out of bed? That kind of thing. These are all super important. I've been studying with some face exercise people because, yes, I am over 60, over 50. Over 60. And so I've been in fitness and exercise for decades, but I only started learning about specific exercises for the face in 2020, and also tongue posture, which is profound, also in 2020. So that's only been a couple years, um, but. One of the things that the very best teachers will talk about is the exercises you do matter, but resting face, how you eat, how you drink, that kind of thing. These matter a lot because you're doing that a lot more often than you are doing actual facial exercises. Ditto for, well, the exercises that you do for your body matter a lot. Um, and but how you take care of your body when you're not exercising also matters a lot. For instance, at this moment, I am perched on my sit bones, on the front of my sit bones. So, kind of like a bird on a wire or a thin branch. If I start to rock back, I'm rolling off the front of my sit bones. And then my entire back is I have to bring my head forward to counterbalance that. Otherwise, I would just fall off my chair. So if I perch on the front of my sit bones, it encourages, it doesn't mandate, but it encourages a stacking and alignment of my spine on up. And so with a little training and a little awareness, I can put the bones in good alignment and keep them there. So if you think of your head as the penthouse, the top of the stack, you don't want to have it out here because it's going to pull everything forward. Also, if you don't have a solid base, how are you going to build on top of that? So it's very important to keep these things in mind. And just, when you're learning a new habit, it might take some effort, but the whole idea of habits is so that it doesn't take effort later. At this point in my life, because I've been working on this for a while, um, when I am out of postural alignment, I feel off. Like I I'm I feel off, and then I might check in with my breathing and check in with my posture, check in with my tongue position, which I literally knew so little about until 2020, and then start to feel better. So breathing in a relaxed manner and breathing deeply is very conducive to uh, an excellent homeostasis, as is having good posture. So we just discussed seated posture from the sit bones on up, the vertebral segments stacked so that your ears are over your shoulders. Or as one of my favorite face yoga ladies talks about, ears over butt. Very cute. English is not her first language, but she communicates quite well because it's true. Because if you have your ears over your shoulders, great. But if your shoulders are here, not so great, right? So ears over butt. Um, and lengthen out the crown of the head and lift up. By the way, this is also optimal breathing posture. So, in order to take a good breath, a good biomechanical breath, you want to have all the components aligned. You don't want to be compressing your windpipe here. Uh, in order to have good feeling in your arms, you don't want to be compressing your brachial plexus here because all the nerves go through to your arms, just like the nerves to your legs go through your piriformis. So the sciatic plexus comes out of the lumbar spine, gathers and goes through, along, beside, depending on who you are. The one of the deep hip rotators called the piriformis, uh, and then go down your legs. So while it's great to have a firm butt, it is not so good to have a tight butt. Um, I know. Uh, little distinction there with the words, but must so tight is not the same as strong. Tight is not the same as empowered. Tight is often a response to not being used fully, and muscles like to be used. They like to be used well, and that's actually what a lot of my content is about. You can only be strong in a range of motion you have. So that is actually the subtitle of my chapter in 50 and Fabulous. Um, let's go there. Yes. Chapter 15, Navigating Aging with Grace, Strength, and Mobility. You can only be strong in the range of motion you have. Now, I straight up got that quote from the "You can only be strong in the range of motion you have" from my mentor, Aaron Mattis. It's true. Uh, he created active isolated stretching. He also created active isolated strengthening. So here's the thing: when you own your optimal range of motion, not beyond optimal range of motion, not hypermobility, which I also discussed in the chapter. When you own your optimal range of motion, that gives you the opportunity to strengthen into your optimal range of motion. When you have done that, it gives you the ability to do whatever you want. I know pickleball is super popular right now. Maybe not my thing, but I get why people enjoy it. Like activities they can do with their friends, right? Take some skill, take some focus. You cultivate dopamine. It's usually done outdoors. I think. I'm pretty sure. So there's a lot of things going for that. And with that activity also, it's a forward arm thing. There's stop and start. And so even when you choose a fun recreational activity, you might still need to mitigate some of the overuse and underuse aspects of it. Um, which, hey, choose things you love. Now, my body has enough challenges that I have chosen to love things that would be good for it for the most part. For the most part, I literally took up fire dancing, poise spinning because it's so symmetrical. You have to use both arms similarly. Um, Often like in sync, doing the same thing, but not always. Sometimes they're syncopated. And I was so right arm dominant just from life, and other sports, that at first my non-dominant arm really had a hard time. And so I would just take it with the other arm and I would lead it through the motions, and eventually got better. And because you're using your arms, and I actually already understood that it's important for everything we do with our arms to come from a position of scapular stabilization. I was able to cultivate that in a way that was pretty good for my body. Um, if you don't know what I mean by scapular stabilization, I do have a couple videos on it on my channel for free. Um, it's a position where your shoulder blades are gently together and down. Now, you might do something in the gym or with free weights at home where you are strengthening your ability to do that. But like if you do if you've ever been told, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Okay, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that cue, but I get why it happens because I was a group exercise instructor a few decades ago. Um, uh, so whatever you're doing for strengthening your upper mid back, that is great. That should help make it easy for you to have your shoulder blades gently together and down, which is where they should be basically living in your life. Okay. When you go to pick something up, when you go to, lift a bag of groceries, or a small child, or um, anything that you do, you are much more, it's less wear and tear on the shoulders and the neck if you come from a position of scapular stabilization with your head and neck in good postural alignment. And being strong enough to for that to be easy, of course, that's one of the goals of strengthening that area. Just because you do a row or something where you work those muscles nearly to failure, or definitely for strength, doesn't mean that that's where you're going to keep them all the time, right? Just like you want to be able to shrug your shoulders up, and you definitely want to be able to bring them down. So we always do some movement here. And let's go ahead and start with some shoulder circles. And typically, when I'm talking about back pain, often the questions are related to low back pain. But I do have a lot of content and episodes on that already. So let's go ahead and work with the upper back today. Big breath in, out, down, and around. And of course, this should feel pain free and should feel kind of good. And so, with your ears over your butt, thanks, Coco. Put your hands behind your head, and I'm going to turn sideways. You can see what I'm doing. You won't be able to see my mouth move, but that's okay. So I'm going to inhale as I bring my elbows towards each other, and then I'm going to exhale as I reach my elbows back and up, and without arching my back. So again, I inhale, bring my elbows in, and I exhale and reach my elbows back and up. Now, if I were with you and assisting you, I'd be assisting your elbows to go up and back in that direction. Uh, on my channel, there's a version where you can use a wall or a doorway. And but even just doing it like this, even just doing it as a range of motion, you will get benefit. Do you start to feel some opening in this region? Inhale in and exhale, reach back and up. 1, 2. Inhale in, exhale, reach back and up. 1, 2. And so while you're doing this active isolated stretch for your pec minor, you're also mildly strengthening the muscles that perform the opposite action. Everything we do here is very neurologically sound. In fact, active isolated stretching is based on Sherrington's principle of reciprocal innervation and inhibition. Little break after 8 or 10. You guys, he won the Nobel Prize in medicine for discovering that neurological reflex that we have in our body. And so it was named after him. Um, and he won that prize almost 100 years ago. You would think more people would be using it. We all use it all the time, every day. Dr. Huberman talks about, he knows, he's referred to the great Sherrington, um, because he's a professor of eyes. So I don't know whether it's ophthalmology or anyhow, something to do with eyes. And Sir Charles Sherrington was studying eyeballs when he realized that And when you think about it, it's going to be like a very duh moment. But of course, um, you cannot look left and right out of the same eyeball at the same time. Otherwise, you would be looking like a cartoon character with your eyeballs popping out of your head. Let's not do that. Unlike in the cartoons, they are not really on elastic bands. So, um, all of our voluntary muscles are like that. When the muscles that perform one action are engaged, the muscles that perform the opposite action are inhibited from firing. This is very good. And it also allows us to do this form of stretching created by Aaron Mattis, the active isolated stretching that feels really good because it's honoring the natural reflexes of your body. My breathing coach, Chuck McGee III, is always encouraging me to speak with a relaxed voice and pause between statements, which is excellent advice that I desperately need. And yet I'm so eager to give everyone all this information because everyone's life is better when they learn how to take care of their bodies in a neurologically sound fashion. So stretching shouldn't hurt. Stretching should not cause you pain. I know a lot of types of a lot of kinds of stretches are not comfortable for most people. And the reason for that is because they're violating your neurology. Your body's saying, no, please, no, please, no. Um, and yet people do them because they have a belief in the ends justifies the means, which is you need range of motion. But honestly, you're better off getting range of motion in a neurologically sound way rather than forcing your body into it. Active isolated stretching is that way. So you saw how gentle that was. So even without an assist, you can cultivate range of motion. And when you do use an assist, you'll be using less than 1 pound. So literally 0 to 16 ounces of assistance is what a trained therapist would be using with you, and what I want you to use when you're doing your self care with active isolated stretching. I believe I say that in every single video. I have like at least 160 at this point free videos on my channel, not even counting these lives that have been happening for the past couple months, ever since this book that I had the honor of being in became a bestseller this summer. Um, so 20 chapters, 20 interesting viewpoints of life turning 50, life after 50, what it's like. Um, and so for all you youngsters, let me just say, take care of yourself now. Uh, One of my meditation teachers, I believe his website is "If I had known then." Exactly. Kids, when I was growing up, we had bomb drills where we would like get under our desks in elementary school and cover our heads in case the big one went off. Yeah, like you really want to die with your head in the sand. But so it kind of gave us the idea that we weren't going to live to 30, but once you hit 30, you're like, hmm, those keg parties. Maybe not. Anyhow, take care of yourself. Having fun is definitely part of taking care of yourself. When you have fun, you create all types of neurochemistry that is so worth it. Just I am a huge fan of play. Yes, I work out. It is super important. I do strength training. I do active isolated strengthening. And I also do things like pull-ups and push-ups and planks and um, squats and lunges and that kind of thing. Uh, but I also choose recreational activities that will help make me stronger. So, dancing in community, especially barefoot in the park, walking barefoot on the sand. I think I'll spend maybe next week, or some week soon, I will spend most of the time extolling the virtues of barefoot. There's some content on my channel about that. There will be more, but let me assure you that your feet are constantly they want feedback from their surface, and if their surface is the inside of your shoes, it's not it's not really what they want. So try to spend time barefoot on excellent surfaces. The earth is is the most excellent surface, and but hardwood floors. So sure, they're sanded and polished, and you're not going to get the i- it's not going to be as interesting to them, but it's going to be way more interesting than if you're wearing socks or slippers or shoes. I promise you. Um, and I learned a fun. Someone take that dog out. I learned a fun fact last week from the glucose goddess. Like I knew that barefoot was feeds the soul. It feeds your soul and it feeds the soul. It is it's so good for you on so many levels. But who knew it actually reduced glucose spikes? It makes sense because it's all connected, which is an upcoming blog. And trying to get my technology to work today had me start a little bit late, but it's been a pleasure and my honor to be with you today. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next live or in session. Thank you so much for joining me.